So, if you recall, we were discussing about the buying decision process. And when we said that information search was a very important aspect towards the buying decision process, and herein, in the aspect of the information search, what we did was we decided to try to find out about the different aspect. We used different sources for information search. Started with personal sources, then we went down to commercial sources, and then finally we decided to have a look at some other sources of information search. We also decided to look at the commercial, public, and the experiential sources of information search. So effectively, with these different type of information search, we decided to come down to something which is called as the sets involving the decision making. In fact, the total set of the products or brands which exactly are there towards taking a decision for a purchase involves the total universe. That is all the products or brands for, let's say, for example, let's keep a computer, for example, or a laptop, for example, towards a purchasing set, a decision for considering set, a choice set, or a decision making for a purchase of a computer. So we have got all these brands starting from Apple, Dell, Hewlett Packard, Toshiba, IBM, Compaq, NEC, and so on and so forth. Uh, Now these basically are the entire universe that exactly is there. Within these universe, we exactly would like to find out about how many products we are actually aware about, or brands which are we are aware about. Now here we have zeroed in down something like around five brands happen to be a subset of the total set which exactly we are aware about. Once this happens to be our awareness set, we would go into deciding about our consideration set. That is, how many brands we would actually consider for making a purchase decision. And here you see from our awareness, we have zeroed in on our expected criteria, three brands. They happen to be Apple, Dell, and Toshiba. Then within the consideration set, we exactly get down to making a choice. And this choice is now going to be limited to, I think, two brands, which exactly is what we intend to be looking at our choice. And they happen to be something like Apple and Dell. And then we would be making a final decision on the basis of the choice. Now, there's a lot of dimensions that go into our purchase decision, which is called as compensatory versus non-compensatory model. We have got three basic types of processes, which I'm going to be discussing in detail. But before that, let us look into what exactly happens in our mind and how do we exactly decide to go in for this sort of a expectancy model, which basically uses to evaluate the different alternatives and come to a specific range. Now you see here we've got a consumer belief, a brand belief, and laptop models which exactly are here. So let's say for example you have got this as laptop A, B, C, and D. These are the four brands of laptops which are there. And on the top we have got exactly the important attributes that you want to consider for purchasing a specific brand. This is the belief that we have. This may not be the reality, but a belief that we have about a perception about a specific attribute of a specific brand. So, of the four attributes that we have, you see the most important attribute we would be considering as we'd be giving at the that is the highest rating we'll give to price. Then we would be giving the next rating which would be giving would be to the graphics capability, sorry, the size and weight. Then the third we would be giving it would be to something like the memory, that is the graphics capability, price, size and weight, and memory capacity. These would be the four dimensions on the basis of which we would be rating our aspects. Now, we would be trying to find out what exactly are how exactly are we going to rate them. Now, what we would be doing is, let's say we'll be giving it as zero point 0.4 for memory capacity. Zero point 0.3 would be for graphic capacity. Zero point 0.2 would be for size and weight, and zero point 0.1 for price. So price happens to be zero point 0.1, let us say. Um, zero point 0.2 would be the size and weight. Zero point 0.3 would be graphic capability, and zero point 0.4 would be memory capacity. Now, these are the weights that I'm going to use to the attributes. Now, these weights could be different depending upon your aspect as to what exactly you think is what is the level of utility that you have for it. Now, I'm going to give a rating of 8 for memory capacity for brand A computer. That is, A brand has 8 as a memory capacity, 9 out of 10 as a graphics capability, size and weight is 6, and price is 9. Now, when I'm going to multiply these figures with the weights, you see the first one, 3.2 is the memory capacity that I'm going to get for A, and the 9 into 0.3 is 2.7 would be the graphic capability. If I'm going to multiply size and weight, 6 into zero point 0.2 is going to be something like 1.2, and 9 into zero point 0.1 would be zero point 0.9, which would be for price. So if I'm going to find the final total of the total attribute, the weighted averages of the total attribute in the expectancy model formulation, I'm going to get that the laptop A is going to come with a final rating of 8. Laptop B is I'm going to get a final rating of zero point 0.7. Laptop C, I'm going to get a final rating of 6, and laptop D, I'm going to get a final rating of 5. So technically, what I would be doing is I would be trying to go for the first model, that is laptop A, because it has a rating according to the different attributes as the highest rating for all the attributes submitted, and that exactly is called as zero point 0.8. So this exactly is how we decide to make an evaluation of alternative towards buying decision process based on a expectancy value model. So if there is anything that is not clear to anyone at this point of time, just let me know. I'm ready to explain it to you, because in case it's
Excuse,
not,
sir.
yes.
So, do we have taken these weights just from our imagination or from any other source?
No, basically, you see, it could be that the person who exactly has a specific type of a requirement for a laptop computer. For you, let's say, the most important thing would be the price. Okay, so you have decided to give 9 as a rating for price.
Right, sir.
Okay, 9 as a graphics capability, 9 out of 10 is a graphics capability. Memory capability is 8. I'm talking about model A. Okay, variant A, and you're given memory capacity as 8 out of 10 and 6 out of 10 in size and weight. Okay, so it may be a bit bulky, but then if you're looking at computer C, the weight would be very heavy, so you given it 3, rating as 3. But computer D is laptop D is very light, so you're given it a size and weight 8 rating. Okay, now these are the individual ratings, but if you're looking at the memory capacity, probably you have given a rating of 10 for the brand C, right? And if you're looking at the price you've given it as 2, that is, it is very costly. Okay, and price for A is very cheap because it is 9 that you're given, 9 out of 10. You're very satisfied with the price. Okay, so it is economic according to. But then when we are talking about the giving the weightage, that is zero point 0.4, zero point 0.3, zero point 0.2, and zero point 0.1. This is on the basis of our use. So the most important thing for a laptop would be, let's say, for example, you require a lot of utility from that laptop, and if the laptop is slow, it does not perform the function, then probably you'd be very, very disturbed. And then you want the highest value for a laptop should be that its memory capacity should be very, very high. So you see, that is where you've given it a zero point 0.4 rating. Then the next important thing is graphics. If the graphics is also very high, so it does the purpose. So that's why you've given it a rating of zero point 0.3. And of course, size and weight is the next important aspect. So you give it as zero point 0.2, and then price is the least. So you'll give it as zero point 0.1. So the weightage that you have assigned is on the basis of your utility. So let's say, for example, as a student, for you this exactly could be. But let's say for another student for whom who's an economy based student, for him probably price is the most important thing, and he may compromise memory and graphics for price. So for that, he might take price as zero point 0.4, size and weight as probably not important for him. He might take memory as zero point 0.3, graphics as zero point 0.2, and size and weight as zero point 0.4. So depending upon the type of the consumer who has a different type of a utility, he might give that attribute different type of weights to different type of attributes, and then he has a perception about each of these attributes for a specific variant of a laptop, which exactly is represented by the ratings that is given out of 10 for each of these dimensions. And then when you multiply the weight with the ratings for each attribute and you add it up, you get the summated rating for the expectancy value. The expectancy value comes at the end, where you sum up the product of the memory capacity with the weights, individual memory capacity with the weights, and when you get that figure, you'll get the final figure for each of these brands, and on the basis of that you can decide whichever is the highest. You'll actually go for selecting as a uh, expectation evaluation of alternatives towards buying decision process. Hope you're answered.
Thank you.
Okay. If there is anybody else with any doubt, feel free to ask up at this point of time, else we shall be moving forward.
Sir, can these weights can we expect exceed from 1? I mean 0.4, or is it 4 or not?
Actually, you see, the sum total of the weights is 1. Okay. If you add 4.4 plus zero point 0.3 plus zero point 0.2 plus zero point 0.1, so the total you are going to get is something called as 1. Okay. So that is why we have decided the weights as a 1, a breakup of 1. Uh, Even if you take it as 2, you can divide it, each of these factors by uh, 2, and you can get the value as 1. You're getting my point? Am I
Yes, sir.
answering?
Yes, sir.
So that is why I've taken 0 0.4, 0 0.3, 0 0.2, 0.1. There are 4 ratings. Let's say, for example, there were 5 ratings. Then we would have had to break it up in such so that the sum total of all the weights is 1. Okay. Am I answered on that?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
If there is any other doubt, please feel free to speak up. I would be more than happy to explain, because if we go ahead and anybody is not clear, then chances are that you may have a problem later. So that is why I want you to be very clear with the expectancy value model, and why I have taken 0 0.4, 0 0.3, 0 0.2, 0.1 is because the sum total of all these weights is equal to 1. And then this is your perception that for you, graphics capability is 9 for model A, memory capacity is 8, size and weight is 6, and price is 9. But for somebody else, it can be something different. It is entirely about your brand belief. So this is one consumer's uh, rating. It is not every consumer's rating. Okay. So let's say you want to buy a computer, you would give this rating, but somebody else might have a different figure. Okay. So this is how we try to do a evaluation of alternatives, and this is actually what happens in our mind when we go to subconsciously purchase anything, and we look into the different features of that product, and then we record this in terms of the different brands that we have already looked into, compared, and then what we do is we try to have this sort of a calculation which is automatically done in our mind, and we come up with a figure which says that this is the best, this is not the best, this is the second best. Okay. And that is actually goes inside the mind, but this is how, if you want to actually evaluate, this is how the evaluation is actually done. So with this, we can actually go to the next slide. That is, I hope I'm clear on this. And if you permit, we can proceed.
Yes, sir, it's all
Yes,
clear.
sir.
Okay, perfectly fine. So let us go down to the buying decision process where purchase decision towards compensatory or non-compensatory models. Here we are going to be talking about something called as non-compensatory model and compensatory models are basically what we're going to see, and we're going to take up things like conjunctive heuristics, lexicographics heuristics, and elimination by aspects heuristics. So, technically, what we mean is that in conjunctive heuristics, what we mean is that the consumer sets a minimum acceptable cutoff level for each attribute and chooses the first alternative that meets the minimum standard for all attributes. For example, if let's say one of you decide to buy some attributes and rate at least 7, you would be choosing a laptop computer B. Okay, if you basically rate 7 for all of them, and then you say that no, I would be minimum, my minimum should be 7 for all of them. So you see here what happens is model A, this is falling below 7, so this is falling 6, so this does not qualify, so brand A does not qualify. C, everything is qualifying, but these attributes like 4, 3 and 2, they're not qualifying, they're not E7. So they are dropping below. Even this is 10, C is 10, the memory capacity is 10, but these are 3, 2, and 4. So even they don't match up to 7, and so you will drop it. And even for this, you see the three parameters 5, 3, and 5, they are falling below 7. So you will drop this. But so this exactly is what is called as conjunctive heuristics. That is, if you have decided all attributes had a rate of at least 7, then you will even not take A, but you will actually go for B. Okay. Now we'll be looking at what is lexicographic uh, domain, that is heuristics. And lexicographic heuristics means that the consumer chooses the best brand on the basis of its perceived importance attributes. Now, with this decision, you will choose the best brand for you will be C. Why? Because memory capacity is 10 over 10, and this is the most important attribute. So you don't care about the graphics, you don't care about size, you don't care about price, but this exactly is the most important attribute. So you will always go for C. So this is a lexicographic heuristic model on the basis of which you decide to make a purchase decision. And elimination by aspect heuristic, the consumers, they end up comparing brands on the attribute selected probabilistically. So while the probability of choosing an attribute is positively related to its importance, it eliminates the brand that do not meet minimum expectable cutoff levels. Okay, so effectively what happens is leading computer manufacturers at the time, like for example IBM, Bell, Dell, Gateway, and they had no choice but to support Intel's marketing effort. Why? Because Intel was actually the leader, and they had to actually follow basically what was the marketeer, that is Intel, was doing, because Intel was the market leader and Intel was making the chips for all of them. So effectively, these are some of the dimensions on the basis of which we take any sort of a compensatory or versus non-compensatory models. Now, there are certain intervening factors which are there. Now, intervening factors is even
Sir,
if you're,
sir,
yes, hello,
so can you again explain the conjunctive heuristic?
conjunctive heuristic. What is it? Just a minute.
For the first point.
Conjunctive heuristics. Okay, what I meant to say was conjunctive heuristics was that the consumer sets a minimum expectable limit. So let's say, for example, he says that I want a laptop which exactly has at least 7 is the rating for all of them. If it is less than 7, it does not fit my prerequisite requirement. At least 70% capability must be there for all the factors that I want to set for making a purchase. So see, 70% of memory capacity, 70% of capability. So you see, the first model, that is A, has 80%. That is, it's surpassing 70% memory capacity. So A will fit the bill. it's 90%, so it will go to fit the bill. But when it comes to size and weight, it is 60%. Okay, so there is where brand A fails in terms of conjunctive heuristics. But when you come to model B, that is brand B, you see this is 70%. It meets 70% for graphics, 70% for size and weight, and 70% for price. So effectively, this person on the basis of conjunctive heuristics is going to select brand B rather than brand A. Even brand A is surpassing on 3 dimensions, but since it's falling on 1 dimension, that is below 70%, it is not going to select brand A, but rather go for brand B. But if you look at brand C, you will find that it is only one factor is matching above 70%, that is 100%, but the rest of them are 40, 30, and 20%, which is below 70%. So effectively, C is not purchased. So is D not purchased. So the person with a conjunctive heuristic model, which has set a minimum cutoff level, will always go for brand B if he has set up the minimum cutoff level as 0.70%. Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let us go down to the intervening factors. Now, intervening factors towards a purchase decision is when we start with evaluation of alternatives. So, consumers, they basically can intervene towards making a purchase intention and purchase decision. The first factor is attitude of others. What others are going to say. Okay. So when we have evaluated our alternatives and made a purchase intention that we want to purchase this, we would always look at certain intervening factors that's given in green colored. That is, what will others think if I own this product? So attitude of others, this is a very important aspect and depends, that is intensity of the other person's negative attitude towards our preferred alternative and our motivations to actually comply with other person's wish. Log kya kahenge? This aspect is a very important aspect towards making a purchase decision. When even we have made a purchase intention, most of the times we are worried about what others will feel about us if we purchase this product. What others will say. And this exactly is very intense in other person's negativism. Now, in case the person is very close to you, then it is going to have even more greater impact because we will adjust our purchase decision in the context of what others are going to feel. Now, for example, if you decide to purchase a bike or a motorbike and you decide to purchase it in a specific color, let's say, for example, you decide to purchase a motorbike, yes, somebody's trying to join now. This is very, very sad that people are not basically disturbing the entire session, but I would not like to allow the person because this is already 10:10 and the person can wait because I can't be bothering the entire class for just one person. So anyway, so effectively, if the person is very close to you and you decide to go for a motorbike and you decide to go for you like the color pink. Okay, I'm not saying that you do like, but let's say, for example, you like the color pink and you decide to buy a motorbike. Some boy decides to buy a motorbike and that too pink in color. Believe me, that is going to actually have a very serious connotation where basically attitude of others are concerned. People are going to say that they are going to actually probably feel that why exactly is it that this person has bought a pink colored motorbike? Because they might think that this is actually a color which is associated with the females. So a bike has to be black or white. Now, this is a very interesting issue when it comes to color. I will tell you that if you look at a brand, if you look generally at brand, when if I ask you the perception of people who are buying products, if you look at tractor per se in the Indian consumers' purchase behavior, what exactly is the general color? I would like to have a response from you. Generally, you have seen a tractor in what colors? Yes.
Sir, Blue and red.
Sir,
Okay,
red.
red.
Blue color, sir. Maximum blue color.
Blue and red.
Red,
Now,
green, blue.
okay, blue and red. The two colors. Why exactly do you think blue and red color tractors are there?
And sir, green. मतलब कुछ
No,
green.
green is for a very specific orientation. I will come down to that brand. Which is the brand which is exactly makes only green color tractors? There's one tractor which makes only green colored tractors. One brand. It's called John Deere. Okay. John Deere makes only green colored tractors. So you never find any colored tractor from John Deere other than green colored. Now that's basically that they have decided
Sir,
that
it's an Indian company.
no, it's not actually an Indian company, but it has an Indian joint venture. But John Deere basically actually yes, I think. Sorry for the disturbance. I think it's coming from somewhere. Please be careful with your microphones. John Deere is a company that makes only green color tractor. You never find any other color tractor. But if you're going to go for the psyche of the Indian consumer, you'll find. Have you seen any black color tractor? Interestingly,
No, sir.
No,
yes. Why?
sir.
Yes. Why? Can you
सर
think?
किसानों को पसंद नहीं आता ब्लैक कलर इस
Why?
वजह से
Why? Yes. किसानों को क्यों black color पसंद नहीं आता? Why?
क्योंकि ब्लैक कलर ज्यादातर बुरी चीजों से एसोसिएटेड होता है
Yes, very good. And what is red famous for? Red is very shub, isn't it?
यस सर हाँ लाल
Red,
जोड़ा शादी का
yes, red is when there's a marriage, there's always a red color. There's crimson color. Red is for the red rising sun. Red is for shub. For any festival, red is a color which talks about prosperity. So when you are buying a product which exactly is going to till the fields and make crops, and you want something very shub, you want something very good, and for that you want something bad. So when you're going to go and make a purchase, you will definitely like to go to have an orange color or a red color to make a purchase. So that exactly is the factor that is kept into the mind when you are designing a product or when you are designing setting a color for a product. Okay, so it is not like you'd like to go for a black colored tractor. No, that's a very ashub. That's not a very that's an omen sign. When you, let's say for example, there is any sort of evil or any sort of bad, then black, probably that black is used. So that is why you'll never find a tractor which exactly is a color which is black. Okay, now effectively green is also associated with something called as greenery. That is, it is going to be and eco-friendly and those dimensions. So environmental consciousness. So that exactly that color is also used to actually green colored. John Deere actually decides to have signature green color for all its tractors. Then when it comes to blue, blue is also very considered a color which is earth colored. It is all about water. It is all about abundance. It's all about it's life-giving material to the earth. So that exactly is why you have a blue colored or a red colored tractor. It's an alternative to red. So effectively, these are some of the colors. So attitude of others is a very important factor, and that plays a very important role for making a purchase decision. So depending on how important people are to you, you decide to use these aspects as intervening factors which impact your purchase intention towards purchase decision. Now, I'm going to be talking about certain other dimensions which exactly are related to others and unrelated to others. So, you see, these factors are like, for example, consumers are undoubtedly influenced by certain external evaluations and evidenced by the success of small budget, like, for example, unanticipated situational factors. Uh, Unanticipated situational factors actually give change the purchase intention, and like for example, somebody might lose your these important aspects as urgent. Um, let's say a consumer's decision is towards modifying or postponing or avoiding a purchase decision influenced by one or more of these perceived risks. Like, for example, functional risk. Let's say, for example, this is an unanticipated situational factor, like a functional risk. The product does not perform as per the anticipated function. Or physical risk. The product poses a physical risk to health or hazard of others. Okay. Or financial risk. The product is not worth the price that you have paid. Or social risk. The product is a result of embarrassment in front of others. Social risk would be a product resulting in embarrassment um, uh, um, for in front of others, or a product affecting the mental well-being of others. Time risk is the failure of the product resulting in an opportunity or cost or other satisfactory product. Now, these are certain type of risks which exactly, or factors, unanticipated factors, social and situational factors which come into play. So let's say, for example, you have purchased a machine and that machine fails to perform continuously. Or let's say, for example, the moment you have decided to purchase a machine, this does not, it takes a long time to boot. Or let's say, for example, the Windows upload, like update starts on that machine, and it takes about 2 hours for the update to happen. Now, for 2 hours, you are stranded. You cannot do any work. So effectively, even if the machine is a world-class machine, this product actually created some sort of a time risk. That is, the failure of the product as a result of the opportunity cost. Now, you had to do certain calculations or certain elements which have to be done by a machine, and then at that point of time, this machine was updating itself. So even if the machine was the best machine that was there, but it did fail to do the job for which it was supposed to have been there. Now, these are some of the reasons on the basis of which are unanticipated situational factors. So, attitude of others and unanticipated situational factors also impact your purchase intention towards your purchase decision. So, effectively, this exactly is a very important aspect when you are deciding to make a purchase decision. Now, there are certain type of perceived risks that I've already talked about: functional risk, physical risk, financial, social, psychological, and time risks which are there. Now, we are going to be looking at something called as the buying decision process. That is, when you make a purchase decision, there are certain post-purchase behavior that you exhibit. That is purchase behavior after you have purchased. That is post-purchase satisfaction, or post-purchase action, or post-purchase user uses and disposal. Now, these dimensions have to be taken into account when you are actually taking your buying decision also. And the organizations have to seek into a consideration that how exactly these post-purchase behavior is actually influenced and by the consumer, because these impact the actual loyalty and satisfaction of a consumer when he or she decides to make a purchase decision. So I think we would be looking at this important aspect as to how this post-purchase buying behavior or the behavior decision process happen. So what exactly would be the first important aspect, that is post-purchase satisfaction. Now, satisfaction happens to be a function of your closeness between your expectation and your perceived performance. Okay, and if the performance falls short of your expectation, then the consumer is disappointed. And if it meets the expectation, then the consumer is satisfied. So there a large gap between the expectation and performance mean lead to a lot of dissatisfaction. So effectively, how much you are satisfied is actually a product of your the difference between expectation and satisfaction. If your expectation is equal to satisfaction, if your expectation is equal to the performance, then you are satisfied. But if your expectation, if your performance is above your expectation, you are satisfied. So effectively what happens is you would like to look into these aspects. So how do we actually generate this? A satisfied customer will purchase the product again and again and will also say good things about the product. So one important aspect is that you try to confirm the high value. You take public action, or you complain about the company, or you end up going to the lawyer, or you decide to return the product, or you stop buying or exit, or you start warning your friends not to purchase this product. Now this exactly is actually a post purchase action. So what exactly you do, how you talk about the product, how you behave with the product, how you actually inform the product, whether you speak good about the product, the bad about the product, is basically an outcome of your post purchase action, which is actually an outcome of your post purchase satisfaction. Then towards post purchase uses and disposal. Now, marketeers should also monitor how buyers use and dispose their product. So let's say, for example, a key driver of sale frequency is product consumption rate. So the quicker you buy and consume a product, the sooner you may be back to the market to repurchase it. So effectively, the marketeers, they try to see what exactly is the life of the product that you exactly have made a purchase. How long have you kept the product with yourself? What do you do? How do you dispose of that product? So that, because Indian consumers, they exactly have a very high aspect for the factor called end of life of a product, or let's say, for example, resale value plays a very important role towards purchase of a product, because they feel that the consumer feels that the product should be actually able to give them a good value for money when they want to dispose of their product also. Not only during the life of the product, but after the life or the utility of the product should be able to give them a good value for money. That is why we say that this has a high purchase value for a product. So there are certain brands which say that इसके purchase, इसका जो selling value है वो बहुत high है, or this can be sold at a good price after the end of life, or disposal rate बहुत बेहतर है. Now this is basically how the the customer product use and disposal habit. So the product, either he gets rid of it temporarily or permanently, or he keeps it. When he gets rid of it temporarily, he rents it or he lends it to somebody. Or when he gets rid of it permanently, he gives it away, trades it, sells it, or throws it away. If he decides to give it away or trade it, he gives it away to be resold or trade it to be used. Now, for example, if he tries to sell it, it is directly to the consumer through a middleman or to the middleman. And if he throws it away, this is end of it. So convert it to serve a new purpose. There are many people who basically try to convert the product for a new purpose, like a new utility from that product, which is thinking out of the box, or trying to store it away for some other purpose. So effectively, this is how the product use and disposal actually happen for different type of goods and services. So let us quickly try to see moderate effects. There are certain moderating effects on consumer decision making. One is low involvement consumer decision. And then there is basically a high involvement consumer decision. When we're talking about a low involvement consumer decision making, we are a variety seeking buying behavior. These are having some of the moderating effects on a consumer's decision making. That is how basically it impacts. Coming down to some sort of behavioral economics, we would be talking about something called as the availability, that is the decision heuristics, available heuristics, representative, or the anchoring adjustment heuristics of framing. That is some sort of a mental accounting that happens when we're talking about behavioral economics. And that basically is a snapshot view of the consumer market that we basically were looking at. So very quickly, let me go back and have a quick recap of what we have covered so far. We decided to look into certain dimensions towards the aspects towards what influences consumer behavior. We saw how exactly consumer behavior acts. There are cultural factors, culture, subculture, and social class. Then the social class is actually influenced towards reference, cliques, family, and roles and status. Then there are primary and versus secondary groups towards membership groups, aspirational groups. We talked about family of orientation, and family of procreation towards certain influences, which exactly consumer behavior. We talked about personal factors, things like age or stage of life, occupation, personality, self concept, and lifestyle. Some key psychological processes we talked about towards memory, motivation, perception, learning, and emotions. Then we discussed the 6 dimensions of the consumer behavior model. We talked about marketing stimuli, other stimuli, consumer psychology, consumer characteristics, buying decision process, and purchase decision. Some key psychological processes we discussed. One of them happens to be motivation. Second happen we looked into the motivation using 3 theories, that is Freud's theory, Maslow's need hierarchy theory, and Herzberg's factor theory. Maslow's need theory is what you've already talked about, the lowest order need, that the physiological needs, and the top is the self-actualization needs. Some key psychological processes towards perception. We talked about selective attention, distortion, retention, and subliminal perception. Some key psychological processes remaining would be learning and emotions, memory, and the buying decision process. The buying decision process, we said, was a 5 stage process, starting with problem recognition, coming down to information search, then evaluation of alternatives, purchase decision, and post purchase behavior. Towards the buying decision process, we try to look into the problem recognition, that is, the buyer recognizes the problem need, which is triggered by internal and external stimuli. Towards buying decision process that we conducted in today's session, we talked about the information search, the different sources, the set of decisions which are involved in decision making, the expectancy value model, the buying decision process towards conjunctive heuristics, lexicographic heuristics, and elimination by aspect heuristics. Then we talked about certain intervening factors which impact our purchase intention and affect our purchase decision, that is attitude of others and unanticipated social factors. We also looked at some of the different type of risks, that is functional, physical, financial, social, psychological, and time risks. Then we looked into the buying decision process and how the consumer uses or disposes of the product. So with this, we decided to actually come to an end of this session. And for this class, in the next class, we would be definitely addressing another important issue. Um, Here, we would be taking up another type of aspect, and we would be looking at segmenting, targeting, and positioning, identifying market segments and targets. This is basically why we would be covering up in the next possible session. And we would like you all to be looking into. Uh, I would just say that please read part 3 of your book, that is the e-copy that I have already shared with you. The part 3, this is chapter number, part 3 would be, I think, um, part 3 would be chapter number 7. Okay, so that is choosing value, identifying market segments and targets, is what we would be taking up in the next session. So I would, before we try to go ahead for that session, since we have some time, I would be taking you to that session towards identifying market segments and targets. I will start with a very interesting product, which exactly all of us have actually been born in, since the time we were born, we have been using that product. And we will try to look into a segment of the market that basically uses that product. So very quickly, I will be talking about a small case study, which we shall be discussing in the next class. And for that, towards identifying market segments and targets, one product which all of us have been using since our childhood, most of you, is a brand that all of you associate with, and every child literally has had it once upon a time or not. I think all of you must have gone through it, and that product is called as the Indian product, that is called as Horlicks. So, very interesting case that I have for you today is towards Horlicks, which happens to be a leading health food drink brand in India. This is from a company called GlaxoSmithKline, GSK. Uh, this has been providing pleasurable nourishment to a wide spectrum of consumers, ranging from children and adults to elderly people. The company has been able to serve this wide segment base through its regular flavor as well as through chocolate, elaichi, and vanilla flavors. However, the company realized the solution for expanding the market and achieving growth is to adopt a more focused approach through market segmentation and targeting using specially formulated products for different segments. One of the products that emerged from the strategic thinking was Junior Horlicks 123, targeted at preschool children. This product addressed the common concern mothers have, that is, their children may not be getting adequate nutrition due to poor eating habits. Another segment the company targeted was pregnant women and nursing mothers, a segment that needed supplements such as micronutrients, minerals, and other vital vitamins. So GSK introduced Mother's Horlicks, fulfilling the requirement of the nutritional supplement in this target customer. Yet another segment the company targeted was the calorie sensitive, health conscious segment. To cater this segment, new Horlicks Light was introduced. This variant has no added sugar, has low fat and cholesterol levels, and contains more fiber. So GSK has been able to expand the market and fortify its product territories through an effective segmentation and targeting strategy. So we would be basically trying to look at identifying the product and profile distinct group of buyers who differ in their different type of needs and wants towards market segmentation. We would also try to select one or more type of market segments to enter, that is towards market targeting, and for each target segment establish and communicate the distinctive benefits for the company's offerings, that is marketing position. So we will be looking at something called as STP, segmenting, targeting, and positioning, which happens to be the backbone of any marketing strategy. And that exactly is what we would be addressing in our next class. So I think,
Excellent, sir.
yes, Keshu.
Sir, actually, I came to know about. Sir, basically, my question is from apart from this level, sir.
Okay.
So basically, sir, I want to ask that there is a something I came to know about that there is a course SAP.
Okay.
So could you please tell something regarding it? SAP.
I
What is
am sorry, Keshu. Basically, we will be considering only associated with marketing or subject related matters in this platform because of the audience that we have. We would not be able to discuss anything beyond the context. If it is anything associated with the course content, only then we would be discussing it. Otherwise, we could be discussing it in private because I do not want to be discussing anything beyond course in this platform because they've got a lot of people who exactly are currently LinkedIn and they have a common interest. So we would be addressing anything associated with marketing only. I would be happy to address your issue at a different level individually.
Sure, sir. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So we basically would be looking at segmenting, targeting, and positioning dimension for consumer markets, and we would try to, because even this is a very important aspect, because marketing strategy and strategic marketing, these are basically two broad domains which exactly people, especially marketers, are actually deciding on creating. So we've got a huge market which is heterogeneous. So we cannot serve the entire market. So if we have to actually effectively and efficiently serve a market with a specific type of a cost domain, we have to identify the market, segment, target, and positioning them. So that exactly happens to be the area that we would be addressing at a detailed level in the next class. So I think that would be post holy breaks. So I wish all of you a very, very happy and colorful Holi. Please stay safe and respect the health care of your and others, and take care of your health concerns, because these are very testing times. So enjoy a colorful Holi, but safety has to be paramount in terms of the challenges of the new normal that we exactly are in. And I wish you all a very happy Holi, and that's about it for the day. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thank you
sir.
very much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome. Thank you. Thank you.